Welcome to Real WW Talk. I'm Ricky.
And I'm Candace.
And as you guys can tell, our third counterpart is not here today. We definitely miss Erin, and she is just prepping for a big trip she's got coming up. So she's not joining us today, but she will be back next week.
She has her vacation carrots ready. She showed us. So
of course.
that's how you know it's real.
We're traveling without him now. So yeah, let's jump into it. Candace, how was your week?
Well, my week was scale-wise great. I hate to always start off with the scale, but I was down 3.8 this week.
Oh my
So
goodness. Good.
I was very, very, I guess, pleased with that. In the midst of still kind of, going through the grieving process, I'm trying to get back onto, not on the wagon, but trying to get back into the routine of it. So I pulled my calf muscle this past week. So I haven't been able to do as much exercise. That's what's been really hard, is that the movement hasn't been there, because I really wanted to jump back on the bike and get going. But my husband was like, you need to rest your leg. I don't know how this happened after my procedure, but it did. And it was very painful. So I focused a lot on the food and making sure that I was eating within my points. And I think that that really did make a difference. So I was proud of the week. I was proud of it.
Okay. You should be proud. I heard you say I kind of got back on the wagon, and I want to advocate for you that you never got off of the wagon, because especially, like, I know a lot's been going on in your life, and you've been just incredibly strong and incredibly focused and saying, what in this crazy time, what can I control? And I saw you really just being disciplined with the things you could, like the water and the walking, and up until, your calf injury, getting all that done. So the fact that you were down 3.8, it was
3.8, yes.
3.8 without the activity just is a testament to your hard work and dedication.
Thank you. You reminded me of that last week, and I think I get into the habit of saying, like, I got to get back on the wagon. But I think it's because the perfectionist Candace, is always about, I have to be exercising and I have to be counting the points, and everything has to look like this for me to be on the wagon. First off, I don't even know what this wagon looks like. I don't know if I've ever truly ever been on the wagon, but I think it makes me feel better to always be striving for it instead of kind of staying and proud in the moment of what I do. So I do appreciate you reminding me of that, because I got to give myself some grace. I think I'm just trying to go so quickly, like, and just kind of, let's go, let's focus on the next thing. But yeah, I got to give myself that grace. But
Yes.
how was your week?
It was okay. I wanted it to go better. I think I let some of my habits slip. I did focus on continuing with vegetables. But my birthday is this coming week, and I think I just kind of started the celebration early, and that, was reflected on the scale. So I'm trying to, continue with my vegetables each day and focus on that, as well as getting back into exercise. I've been doing maybe 2 days of exercise, and then the step bed also ended. So I think that also didn't help the scale this week. But yeah, I've really been struggling with temptation, and I wanted to kind of bring that up. I know it leads into from my week and into the topic, I think, because I am still challenged by, spontaneous things that pop up. And, as someone who's never been Lifetime, I'm curious, how do people get to a point where they're maybe not as challenged by those spontaneous snacks or spontaneous desserts that pop up at work? How do you think people get to that point where they're just like, I can make a choice to have it and move on, or I'm choosing not to have it? What do you think?
And what a week to talk about it, because the birthday week is like the time that all of the temptations can kind of come around, because everybody wants to celebrate. I mean, I want to celebrate with you. I told you, we talked about going out and doing things, and it always seems to, you don't want to make it center around food, but those temptations are there. I was looking at some of the influencers that I follow on various social media, and a lot of them are at Lifetime. And I don't know if you've noticed, but they have this uncanny ability to have one of something that they want. So whether it be a donut or piece of cake or anything, even
Mhm,
if it's something that they weren't planning for, but they were tempted by, they don't
mhm,
say no to themselves. They say
mhm,
they have it, but they stop after they do it. They don't feel guilt. And I think the feeling of guilt is the challenge that we're kind of dealing with. It's not the eating of the item or the choice to give in, which sounds
mhm,
negative, to the food. It's the guilt that's associated with it that can cause it to spiral. Because
mhm.
I feel guilty after eating certain foods, even though I know that foods are not good or bad. I don't know about you.
I
Do
was
you still
thinking
label them?
yes, and I was thinking that terminology, like, we're on the same wavelength because I think I still label some foods as bad, and I think because of that, once I've had it, I'm already labeled myself, "Well, I've done bad things today. I've made bad choices today. What's my next bad choice?" And that's the turn or the difference I think between where I am at this point and where maybe those influences are where they're saying, "I'm saying yes to this because I don't need to restrict, and that's it," versus, "I've made this choice. It's not a bad choice. I'm incorporating it into my food for the day, and I'm moving on."
Yeah. The perfection also isn't there because
Mhm.
I think that we still, and I'm speaking for you, you can tell me if it's not true. I think we're still requiring a bit of perfection in the journey for us to feel like it's okay to move on. Okay,
Mhm.
I admit I am into the Wordle craze that's going on where you have like
Yes.
5 5 chances. Is it 5 or 6? I think you have 6
6.
chances. 6 chances to
Mhm.
guess a 5-letter word at random. And
Mhm.
I have been very frustrated for those of you all who play Wordle recently. When New York Times bought
Oh.
Wordle, it got insanely hard. I'm going
Mm.
somewhere with this, guys, I promise. The point is that I wanted perfection where I always was winning the game, always.
Mhm. That
And
streak that we've talked about the streaks before.
I want the
100%
blue dot.
wins.
100%. And the moment that I had a hard word that I almost did not get the 6 and my streak was broken,
Mhm.
I didn't care. Like, I was like, "You know what? Forget it. Since I lost this time, who cares about Wordle? I don't even wanna play this anymore." When I was so determined beforehand, but it's because I was viewing not winning every game as it not being perfect, therefore not worth it. And I
Mhm.
said, "Wow, isn't that like our weight loss journey? Isn't that
Mhm.
kinda like what we're discussing right now? Like this, if I give in to this first labeled bad food, if I give
Mhm.
into this thing, that makes me not perfect. That means I was off track. That means it's
Mhm.
not worth it." Do you know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like, it's a
Yeah.
pattern.
It goes back to our topic of, like, a slip, make how to not make a slip into a slide because I had the same thing happen the other day. I lost my Wordle for the first time, and every time I was so happy to see 100% you did it, and it's not like it went from 100% to, like, 50, it went down whatever, to 90 something, but to me, even though I wouldn't label myself a perfectionist, I was so devastated. I'm like, "You know what? I don't care." And, like, just don't care about Wordle. Of course, I still did it the next day, but I didn't win it the next day because I did not invest the same amount of time and effort into it. I wasn't invested, and I think that's exactly what you're talking about with our weight loss. Once we have a slip or have make a choice that we label as bad, we're not as invested in making the same choices. We may not spend the time meal prepping. We may not spend the time to cook the food for dinner. Whatever it is, it's not worth it as much because we've put these labels on, how we need to do and what standards we need to meet.
And I think it depends on when it also happens in the week because, when you think about the WW week for us is Saturday through Friday. Yes, Saturday through Friday.
Mhm. Mhm.
So if you have that slip up or that thing that you're labeling, because it really starts with the label, like that's what we need to attack.
Mhm.
It's the fact that we are choosing, because it's a choice,
Mhm.
not to let go of the fact that there's nothing wrong with a donut. and that
Mhm.
a donut can be a part and is a part of life and plans for many people, and it makes it sustainable. But
Mhm.
because I think WW, I don't want to say they penalize you so much, but they are trying to force you or help you learn to make choices that are healthier by charging you a lot of points.
Mhm.
Um, you see your points go down significantly when you have or indulge in those things. And
Mhm.
if you don't make other adjustments in your day, for many people, that might send you over. And
Mhm.
seeing the negative numbers so early in the week can be very, very hard to overcome, even though
Mhm.
they've given us ways to overcome it with exercise and crunchy vegetables and all the things that we've talked about. It's hard
Mhm.
to start off the week in a deficit, which is why we started the Saturday, Sunday tracking. But that also
Yes,
means that you have to track honestly, which is a whole
exactly.
other thing.
And I am curious if people who start, in the middle of the week have the same challenge because they, at some point get to the weekend. But, I'm curious if that challenge is more difficult or do you have fewer points when you get to the weekend or you save them up? I think all of that involves so much planning and preparation of, how do I want to spend my points? When is it important for me to spend them? And what do I want to spend them on and not spend them on?
Yeah.
And I prioritizing that is so important too.
And also, and I wonder, this might, I don't want to like make it multiple issues that we're trying to attack, but why is it also that it's our nature to hide, or
Mm,
to omit? Like even if you have like an accountability partner, or you're doing track it Saturday and Sunday,
mhm,
when you aren't feeling proud, obviously, of your choice,
mhm,
um, the intent and the desire is to just hide
mhm.
from the feedback, you know? And I
Yep.
think that that keeps us stuck as well. So if you're thinking about your birthday, you're not proud of your choice on a
Mhm,
Saturday early in the week, you hide it. That makes
mhm,
you more likely to keep up those patterns going into Sunday, going into
mhm,
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, because it's really the accountability and being honest up front that
mhm,
I also notice to be a pattern for those who are really have made this their lifestyle. They don't hide
mhm.
from the choice. They
Yeah.
own it. They don't feel anything. There's no emotion tied
Mhm.
to the food, so there's no need to hide, you
Yeah,
know?
that's a good point. And I think when we do practice, like everything is built on habit. So when we start that habit of sharing and being honest about it, that's a habit that's positive for us. But I think when we do the opposite and we don't share everything or don't track everything, that's habit building too. I'm
Yeah.
building a negative habit of not tracking everything or being dishonest about it or being dishonest with others, being dishonest with myself, and it makes it almost easier. It's like the more, even just talking about lying, the more that you do it, like the first time, hard when you're a kid and you tell your first lie. It's not, you're like shaking and nervous, and you think the world's going to explode, but it doesn't happen, and it's like, okay, well, that wasn't that bad. And things get easier the more you do them. Those negative things get easier too, which is why it's so hard to break them when it's time to just say, "I need to get real with this."
And so, but really what you're saying is there's not immediate accountability, you know? So
Mhm.
that is so true. It's like if you had lied and somebody caught you and was like,
Mhm.
"You lied," you're gonna have a repercussion immediately.
Mhm.
You probably would not repeat that behavior because you
Exactly.
were immediately called out. I
Mhm.
think that when we're in this weight loss world, I don't know, you don't have a lot of, it's not Dr. Phil's, but, you know, you don't have a lot of people who are willing to be very aggressively in your face
Mhm.
about, and we probably have done that on purpose, you know, to make it very uncomfortable for people to tell you very directly that you're out of order. For me to say, "Ricky, I didn't see your tracker on Saturday for Track It Saturday.
Mhm.
Where was it? And whatever
Mhm.
you told me that you had for lunch wasn't on there. So you're not putting everything on there. You're lying."
Mhm.
That should be something that you should do for yourself and not
Mhm.
other people don't have to do for you. But because there's
Mhm.
not an immediate repercussion, I think it does kind of make us feel like, "Whew, I got away with that. Let me
Mhm.
keep doing it." But who are you getting away with it with? Like, you still
Mhm.
feel the guilt afterwards,
Mhm.
for not hitting
We're
your
the
goals.
Right, we're the ones who are still not meeting our goals, not seeing the progress, and I think for self-esteem, like, being dishonest in that way, what already hurts you is a hit to your self-esteem, I think, 'cause you like you said, you know you're doing it, you know that you're not sharing everything you could or using that accountability partner in the best way you can, but then when you see the consequences of it later where it's like, "Oh, it's a month later, I've been sharing this tracker and I have nothing to show for it." Then it's like it's hard to feel good about yourself in that moment because you know you're responsible,
Yeah,
it's not the partner's fault, it's not anyone else's fault, but your own.
yeah. And I think the thing that has gotten me personally, we talked about, I think it was the last time that we spoke, we talked about kind of getting sick and tired of yourself and, sick and tired
Mhm,
of being sick and tired. When you start to see that others have held their own selves accountable to,
mm,
like, I am sick of myself and you see it or Aaron sees it. It could be motivation when you see others who have really changed their mindset and are starting to
mhm,
hit their goals to say, well, they were able to get past that. Why can't I? You know,
mhm,
because I don't want to be left behind. I don't want to be on the Facebook group or on our Instagram and follow all of these people who started years after me, weeks after me, and they are being real with themselves and
mhm,
hitting those goals, and I'm just making excuses, you
mhm.
know? And they're
So what
having the things that I want.
Mhm, mhm. So that's the thing, like, what does it take to make that change? Because I think, again, when you have been doing this for so long and been in so many different iterations of the program, there's so many habits that you have to get rid of,
Yeah,
There's things that the first time I did WW in high school, it was eye-opening, and I lost the weight right away, and there were probably people in the room who had been there 10 years, and maybe they, had lost it and gained it back and lost it and gained it back for whatever reasons, but for me, because it was new, it was fresh, I was willing to do the work, and I was committed, and I saw the progress, like, I started to see the progress, and I made the change. I continued to do it, I think that's why I was so successful, but
mhm,
I think, once you've been doing this for a long time, it's so hard to get over yourself. Like
yeah,
I'm constantly battling myself because I think I know everything.
mhm. But
And I
here's my
don't.
question for you, Ricky, and I'm
Mhm,
asking it maybe to myself too. That first
mhm,
time,
yeah,
eons and eons ago, little
mhm,
Ricky, little Candace on WW, Weight Watchers at the time,
mhm,
were you restricting? Like, and put in your way of feeling like you were doing it right, and even and you had success,
mhm.
did you still have the labels in your mind if you think back to it on food or on having certain things and you did not indulge?
I honestly don't think so because now that we've done so much reflecting, I think my labels and emotional eating started in college.
Okay.
I don't remember eating a lot of junk, but I remember eating like, the first time I did it, I remember discovering fat-free Jello, and so I think I cut corners, but there were times where I would have a slice of cake but I don't remember having it frequently, but I was also, I played a sport, I, walked a lot. I don't remember having an emotional connection to food, though, and I think that is the difference too, is when I got to college, a lot of things changed. I talked a few weeks ago about losing a family member and dealing with that while I was away from home and transitioning, to adulthood and college. Everything happened at once. And I think I used food at that time. Also at a time where you get rid of all the food rules you ever knew, like at
Mhm,
college. You have pizza in the middle of the night if you want. I didn't even drink. It wasn't even from drinking. My freshman 50 was not from drinking. It was purely from food and probably being more sedentary.
mhm.
What about you, though? How would you answer that question?
When I think about myself on WW throughout the years, I think there has always been a level of verbally saying that foods were not good or bad, or verbally
Mhm,
saying that I can have whatever I want, But even when I was very successful, I was restricting in ways that was not sustainable. Like when you talk
Mhm.
about the fat-free Jello, or convincing myself that I don't like mustard on sandwiches. I don't know. I mean, kudos to people who do. I'm a mayonnaise girl. Like, what
Mhm.
creamy? I don't. The tanginess of mustard is not my thing. But going
Mhm.
to Subway and being like, this turkey on wheat with lettuce and onion and just yellow mustard is just great. And I'm so happy it's 7 points and I don't feel like I'm deprived at all, was a lie. I
Mhm.
lost weight, but it wasn't sustainable for me because the things that I really wanted, I was unwilling to try to fit into my program
Mhm.
for a
Mhm.
longer time. And you can't sustain that for long term, which is why the weight would start to come back on. Or whenever I binged, it was on the things that I labeled as bad or the
Yeah.
things that couldn't be a part of my journey.
Mhm.
And I think that a lot of people, I know a lot of the feedback that some people gave WW when the points changed and they put in saturated fat, which is all very, very great to kind of take into account when you're looking at, is a food something that should be a part of your life on a consistent basis. The points
Mhm.
shot up for
Yeah.
things that you want to make a part of your life, but you can't all the
Mhm.
time. And even though you can make those choices, it hurts to not know that, to know you can't have it twice a day.
Mhm.
You can have a cupcake, but two put you over. And
Mhm.
then you're having to deal with that, you know?
Yeah.
That's always
I
been hard for me.
yeah. I do remember, even though I still think I don't like disordered thinking about food didn't happen yet, I remember, back in the day, the 100-calorie packs
Oh my
and
gosh.
Snackwells. Like, I remember discovering
The
Snackwells, and I think I
Oreo one? Sorry.
yes. I love the little white ones and then the, like, the devil's food ones. But, like, finding those and, like, "Oh, I can have this," and I don't think I missed Oreos or things like that. I think I truly liked those things. But as Weight Watchers, as you were saying, Candace, as, like, Weight Watchers kinda developed and realized, like, "Okay, there are people who are eating cookies instead of a banana. We should
Yeah.
probably think about this." And then when fruit became free, and I am someone who doesn't always gravitate towards fruit or vegetables. So it was hard. I still would try to fit those things in. Like, let me fit in this calendar calorie pack here, this fiber one bar here, and oh, I guess I'll eat a banana another time. Even though it was free, I still struggled with fitting in those 0 point foods because I was used to them being the same value as something I liked more.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that if you can't fit it in, or if it's not, the calculations aren't working out, and then you pair that with a perfectionist
Mm,
personality, it's kind of makes sense why we're even discussing this today. Like, it's the whole
mhm,
point of, this isn't working out. I'm not able to, I just can't do it. Like, I can't make my indulgences and my things that I really want fit into my plan, the
mhm,
way that I need it to. And I don't want to just eat all of this. Like, I just don't want fruits and vegetables all day long, which are the things that they tell you to kind of use to swap it with. Like, oh, you can have fruit for this, you can have vegetables. Like, but I really want chips, or I really want the
mhm.
cupcake. Me, I'm a cupcake girl, so everything's a cupcake. I want the cupcake. I don't want the lemon, the WW. Do you remember the little lemon cakes? Okay, they had frosting on it, so I was really excited. They were little cakes
Kind of. Uh-huh.
that WW made at Weight Watchers, and they sold them in the
Oh, in the
store.
store, yes! I love
Yes,
those. They had brownie ones too.
they
I
were
was
so
so sad when they stopped selling them, and they would like, Wegmans would sell out of them because we had our 8 a.m. Saturday meeting, and you knew everyone was gonna go to Wegmans to get them.
and
Oh,
they
those were
take your stuff, but that doesn't really replace a cupcake for me. I convinced myself for a while, like, you know what? This 2 point cake is just so much better than any cupcake I've ever had. Lies. I will take a Georgetown cupcake over a 2 point WW lemon cake anytime.
good.
But
Mhm.
I have to be able to deal with the fact that it's more points, and that
Mhm.
one, I don't have to hide from that. I can put it in my tracker. I
Mhm.
can be over, and I can
Mhm.
find a way to get out of that deficit. and
Mhm.
because this is what's important to my lifestyle.
Yeah.
And I need to be honest and accountable. And all of that is maybe how you stop going back to the original question. I'm
Mhm.
thinking that that's how we stop the cycle of being
Mhm.
able to, of overindulging and continuing to do it because
Mhm.
we're hiding from the result. We're hiding from it.
Mhm.
I think it's the hiding that's killing us.
Mhm. And I think there's ways that we can also prevent our like, sometimes we can set up the situation to not put ourselves in a position where we have to say no multiple times. I think one of our local coaches, Layla, said that, like, you can go to the grocery store and say no to something once, or you could take it home with you and say no 6 times or however many things are in the
That's a good
box.
point.
Yeah, and I think about that with cupcakes, like, when you go to the store, they're not offering you 20 cupcakes, you get to choose how many you take home. So
Mhm.
if you say, "I'm gonna take 4 home, and I promise I will split them up across 4 days," or however many days, once you get home, it's you have to tell yourself no however many times until, maybe you are in a place where you can do that, and not everyone is there, though. I know for me, I would probably be dishonest with myself in the moment in the store and
Yeah.
say, "I can handle this. I know I haven't before. I know the last time I ate, 2 in a day, but I can control it this time." But that's a lie I'm telling myself because I know in this moment that that's not how my relationship with food is.
Yeah.
So I think it also is being honest with yourself about how you can prepare your surroundings and your environment to be successful.
And I think that's a big key. I really love that you said that, being honest with yourself about what you know you can handle.
Mhm,
So if I do, like you said, indulge in the cupcake, I know that I really do want more than one.
mhm,
So to lie to myself and say that I can handle buying 3 and I'm gonna split them up throughout the week is just not true. So I need to
mhm,
be able to be honest with myself and set up those parameters. It's something that we talk about at my job where what are the things that you can do to help reinforce your boundaries when you are not strong enough to do it for yourself. So whether
mhm,
that be that you do call your accountability partner and say, I'm going to get a cupcake, I'm just letting you know, not because
mhm,
you need to do anything for me, but I'm going to get 1. I want to get 3, but I'm gonna get 1, you
mhm,
know, or talk to them. Do you think I can handle 3? And they're like, have them challenge you with it because it's an
mhm.
area where we all have a weakness. And I feel like
Yes.
a lot of people who are dealing with food struggles, our weakness is food.
Mhm,
An alcoholic would ask their accountability partner or their sponsor to help them when they're in sticky situations. I don't really think it's any different. And I think if
no.
we view ourselves that way, it helps us to understand that there really sometimes is a flaw in how we process. Because
Mhm,
you would tell me, Ricky, if I called you and said, I'm just going to get 3 cupcakes and take them home and I'm not going to touch them. You'd be like, really? So when did you change from the Candace that I know?
right.
Because the Candace that I
Mhm,
know, they're going to be all gone tonight. And
mhm,
you're going to lie to me and I'm not going to get a tracker and you're not going to
mhm.
post and you're going to hide.
And I think all of that comes from being honest with someone, like having a person that you feel comfortable, that person's not going to shame you, but they're also not going to like let you lie to them or let you manipulate them because they would also, probably not want you to not when the role is reversed have that happen to them. So I think it takes a lot of strength to say, I'm going to bear it all to this accountability partner. But I think knowing that you have someone you can do that with is incredibly valuable.
And also knowing that there's gonna be times where you're gonna want to lie to that person as well,
Mhm,
and I think that that's a part of the sickness, if you call it a sickness, or the part for those who I identify as it's an addiction. Like when you
mm,
think of the food and the sugars and the different things, you can get into addictive behaviors and lying, hiding, all of that is part of kind of giving into that addiction piece, and I don't
mhm,
want to do that. So when I find myself, and that's something only you know. So if I know that I'm
mhm,
starting to lie to my accountability partner, then
mhm,
it's how do I figure out how to kind of rein myself in? And that's hard. That's really
mhm,
hard because you have to take a hard look at yourself and say, I'm
Mhm.
lying. And I'm noticing that I'm lying to the person who I reached out to help me stay
Mhm.
on track, you know?
And that yeah, and that can be interesting for the relationship too. I think about what Erin is the point she's made a few times about, people trust me as much as I've been honest with them, essentially is what she said it in a different way, but, people may not believe me when I say I'm gonna lose weight this time because historically, I've said it and not done it. I've said I'm gonna do this, and I've not done it in this area of my life, so, you know, I think if we're dishonest with our accountability partner and it's a consistent problem, I think we also risk losing that relationship or not maybe not losing the relationship, but having a huge loss of trust and they're not as valuable to you if they can't truly help you.
Yeah, it becomes the cycle. It's like now all you've added to the cycle is that you reach out only when you want to pretend that you're doing, and I think that the
Mhm.
reason why that sounds bad is because there's a lot of intent that can
Mhm.
seem like it's put behind, like, I'm honestly trying to lie to you, I'm trying to
Mhm.
hide from you. It's recognizing that at the core of it is a desire not to change. It's like I think we're,
Mhm.
as much as we say we want to, there's something that's keeping us um, determined to stay the way that we are. And sometimes a
Mhm.
lot of that is rooted in fear. So that's a whole nother discussion that could go another route. But when you see that your actions are just consistently not adding up, you have to
Mhm.
stop and say, what is it that I'm afraid of? You
Yeah.
know, and what am I gaining from sabotaging? When
Mhm.
instead of listening to everybody who is at goal. I mean, we have a lot of people in our Facebook group who share every day what they
Mhm.
eat and what they do. They share their
Mhm.
recipes, and they have those indulgences. They have those things that are higher point. But they just keep going because they're not sabotaging themselves. They don't have a desire to stay in a negative space. It doesn't mean they're
Mhm.
perfect, but they move on very quickly. So I
Yeah.
think that self-sabotage has to be addressed.
Well, that's the question is why are we so afraid? Why are we so afraid of change that we're willing to hold ourselves back for years? I mean, that's my story is I've held myself back for years. I was kind of giggling when you were talking because when you and I got on here preparing for today, you did not like the way the camera was set up
I did
because
not.
our captain isn't here, our president Christie isn't here, and we're doing it. We're learning how to do this ourselves as well. But at the same time, there that we had something set on the wrong button and you could see about this much of our it was zoomed in a little bit more. And Candace, you were like, I don't like it.
Like this,
I
no.
don't You were so concerned. I'm like, can't you look wonderful? You're still beautiful, like everything. And it was just zoomed. No, I don't like it.
It's too close.
But we were both kind of like, change is hard. It's we don't want it to be different from the way it always is. And we're even if we're not happy with the way things are and we could change it to be better, like, I want a healthier body, I want a healthier lifestyle, I don't want to be winded when I'm going up the flights of steps. Like I've wanted that for years. And for some people that's enough to say, like you said earlier, some people just get frustrated and fed up with themselves and they do it. Why have I been stuck being fed up with myself?
Mhm.
What is it gonna take to say the change is scary? I acknowledge that, and that's okay. I still need to change. I need to be healthy for myself, for my family, for all of that. Like, why not? Why can't I just do it?
I feel like some very smart person would come on and say that it doesn't hurt enough. I mean, that's honestly what
Mhm.
I feel like. There's something, you may want it, I may want it, but obviously it's not enough to push past the fear of change,
Mm.
because if it were, then you would do it. So like for me, having all of the health things that I've had to kind of address with being pregnant and losing the pregnancy, and everybody all up in your health business, your blood pressure's being
Mhm.
taken and your weight's being looked at. Those are all very big triggers for me personally, because I'm always thinking about the fact that at some point my health could be affected by my weight.
Mhm.
And I don't want the guilt of the fact that I could have changed my weight and been healthier,
Mhm.
to catch up with me help, like at the doctor's office, and for them to say, you cause these things to happen to your body.
Mhm.
So that's starting for me personally to be a big enough concern that it's driving my actions even in the past week. Because I know I
Mhm.
have to go back to the doctor this week. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't want them to say, what did you do? Maybe it's external validation, but it's like, I don't want to be the reason that something bad could happen,
Mhm.
to me health wise. And that seems like a big thing for me. But if it weren't, it'd have to be something else that would make me get past whatever the hurdle is that's keeping me stuck, because I don't know the answer. I've been in the
Well,
same space as you.
yeah. I think about Science Fitness though, like, saying that motivation is not gonna get you there. So I also see the other side of it where he's saying, sometimes you just have to do it. You just have to do the and I think what he's essentially saying in the way that he says it is the habits. It's I need to do this, whatever it is. For me, it might be eating at home and not eating out, or it might be working out more, or whatever that is, qualified into an actual goal that's measurable, observe all of those things, star goal. Like that is, I think, what the opposition to that might be is I need to just do things and not wait until I'm motivated by fear or by whatever it is. But there still needs to be some action. There needs to be an action step with that too, right?
But I wonder if it works in together, because while that's
Mhm.
true, you
Mhm.
can know that all day, but if you still,
Don't.
because that's really Nike, just do it, right?
Right.
Just do it. You just need to do it. That's still
Mhm.
great, but you still need to just do it. And if you still haven't been doing it,
Mhm.
you still have to have something that motivates you to just do it. I don't know how else to say it. You know what I mean? Because we've known those things too, where it's like,
Mhm.
just do it, just do it. You just have to move first, head first, and the feet will follow. But you
Mhm.
haven't been able to execute that.
Mhm.
Even with knowing that it's that simple, you still haven't executed. So it's still going back to the same question, which
'Cause,
is
yeah, we
why.
always sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. What do you think about that?
So we always, we know the worst case scenario that like we know people who have, passed away from health issues related to weight or I know you love a certain TV show with a certain doctor who shames people
I love
about
Dr. Now. I do. You gained 30 pounds this month, and he's just so, oh, Dr. Now's my favorite. I want to meet him so he can get upset with me, because that's exactly what I need.
I need a talking to from Dr. Nat. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes I don't watch that show a lot, but when I do, it's when I'm like, "Okay,
Yeah.
I'll do it, I promise. I'll do it,
It's
Dr.
his
Nat."
flat affect because he doesn't smile. He's just like, "You eating too much." He's like, "You eat too much, you don't lose weight. I don't understand." Like, it's very matter of fact.
Uh-huh. So, yeah, so why is it that we know what could happen when we, like, gain weight? There's certain points in my life where I was like, "Okay, this is the highest weight I've ever been. I'm not going above this," and I'm above that now, where I thought I would never get above. So why is it that, why do we continue to sabotage? It's truly sabotage,
Yeah.
and not moving forward because of fear.
But the only thing that I'll say one more time for me, and I can only speak for
Mhm.
myself, is that I've actually had a physical repercussion
Yeah,
that
yeah.
has manifested because of
Mm,
my weight. So that
mm,
was enough that even recently, obviously when I was pregnant, I wasn't losing weight.
mm,
But before that, I had started losing. And recently, even since everything's happened, I've continued, to start to go down. But I think when you do actually, when it's not just a thought that it could happen,
mhm,
you actually get a statement from someone saying this is related to weight.
mm,
Um, that is something that can be eye opening. You don't ever pray for
mm,
it to happen because you're trying to like heck to avoid it. But
yeah,
sometimes I think life happens to kind of give you that wake up call. You
Mhm.
hope that you don't need it, but I think that I don't know if it's a human condition that we just keep pushing the limits
Mhm.
until we're like right there. And
Mhm.
then sometimes it doesn't work out the way that you need to, and that's your little kick in the butt.
Mhm.
I would wish that it not be that, Ricky, that it just be that I know that it's just do it. And I got up and I was like, just do it. Science said it. Doctor now said it. Let's go. But why are there so many of the clients on my 600-pound life who talk to him and still don't do it?
Yeah. And I think some of it is personality. I think there are some people, like for me, there are certain things I can think of that of advice I've been given over the years about unrelated things like spending habits or, whatever it is. And, I am like, okay, that's great. I know but I'll do that later. Like I'm in my 20s. I don't want to do that now. And I don't even know if I outright thought that. I just said, okay, that's good advice. And then just did what I wanted to. But I think I am the person that has to learn, not has to, because with weight, I don't want to learn by having a natural horrible consequence or something. But I have historically learned through my mistakes. And I think everyone does learn through their mistakes, but I think there are some people who, even more so, do push the limits of those mistakes. Like how many, it's almost like gambling, you
Yeah.
know, how many quarters do I have to put in this thing? This is my last 10 quarters, and I'm going to keep putting them in until I get that jackpot. And I think some people maybe aren't as influenced by those things, maybe in this area, but maybe there's another area in their life where they are a gambler in a way.
It's like everyone's pain threshold is different. Like some people,
Mhm,
they feel a little bit and they're like, oh, no, never mind. I'll do whatever. And
mhm,
others, it's like you have to beat them. My dad always talked about it with us as children, myself and my brother. Like you could look
mhm,
at me and tell me you were disappointed, and I'm crying and back to studying or doing whatever I can to make you not
mhm,
upset with me. My brother was like, I don't care. I don't care if you like me. I don't care if you're upset with me. It took a lot more to get him back in line because he
mhm,
didn't respond to just a look. It's not
mhm,
right or wrong. Different people, like you're saying, Ricky, different things. I when I
mhm.
gamble, I if I gamble, I'm penny slots. I lose 5 cents. I'm like, I'm off. Horrible day. You have other
Uh-huh.
people, and you're like, you just threw away thousands of dollars, and they're like, well, it happens.
Yeah, it's like I win every now and then, so,
Sometimes
but
you win, sometimes you lose. And I'm like, how can I be like you? But,
mhm,
I don't know if so I think that when you do find that thing for yourself, though, whatever it is, because I know that we're going to get ready to wrap it up, I
yeah,
think we have to understand that you're not going to have the same threshold that I am. But
mhm,
at some point, whatever it is for you could manifest. And I think that
mhm,
if you haven't found a way to motivate yourself just by hearing the SIATs and everybody say, just do it,
mhm,
the prayer is that you don't have to hit that pain threshold
yeah,
that's going to make you say, all right, this has to stop. Because I think that's
mhm,
what's happened for a lot of people.
yeah. I definitely, that's my prayer for myself, my prayer for everyone. Let's do things get ahead of these things and not wait for the consequences of our actions.
It's what we
So,
try to teach our kids. You're a teacher. You're like, why are you going to make me put you in timeout? Like, just stop doing the thing I told you to stop doing, and we will be fine. And
yeah,
there they
what do we
go.
tell them? It's like, you don't have to understand why I'm telling you to do this, but I've said that multiple times in the past couple weeks to just some of my kids, like, I'm trying to help you. That's why I'm here. I'm a special educator. I am here to help you. I'm not telling you to sit down and write a paper because, I get paid by the papers you write. Like that's not how that happens. I want to help you, but you don't want to help yourself. You don't. Yeah.
And that's how we end this.
I know. On that note, great conversation, and we have this wonderful community. We'd love to hear from you. If you'd like to reach us, we have our email at gmail.com. You can just email realwwtalk@gmail.com. You can also catch us on social media. We're on Instagram. We are on Facebook. You can catch our YouTube as well as our podcast. So we'd love to hear from you. We'd love to see you in the comments. Just keep in touch with us, and we hope you have a wonderful week.
See you next week. Bye.
Bye.